I call the member for Noosa.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. On the 31st of January 2022, the Legal Affairs and Safety Committee tabled Report 22, an inquiry into serious vilification and hate crimes. This was in response to a request of the Legislative Assembly for our committee to inquire into the nature and extent of hate crimes and serious vilification in Queensland and whether there was evidence of increasing instances of these, as well to consider the effectiveness of Section 131A of the Anti-Discrimination Act 1991 and other existing Queensland laws responding to hate crimes. Acting Speaker, the final report made 17 recommendations covering legislative amendments and other actions for the government to undertake. This bill, the Criminal Code Serious Vilification and Hate Crimes and Other Legislation Amendment Bill 2023, implements 4 of the report's recommendations, as well as increasing the existing penalty for the offence under S131A. First, by addressing what protected attributes will be the basis for the anti-vilification law that is currently in the Anti-Discrimination Act, and that will be relocated to the Section 52A of the Criminal Code. Our committee recommended that government should ensure anti-vilification provisions in both civil and criminal laws cover the attributes of race, religion, gender and/or sex, sexual orientation, gender identity and/or gender expression, sex characteristics and/or intersex status, disability and medical status, including
Order. Just pause the clock. I call the member for Noosa.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. This recommendation was supported in principle by the government, noting that there is a Queensland Human Rights Commission review underway at the time, which may also impact on this. Many stakeholders made submissions supporting overall the amendments, as well making specific recommendations. The Queensland Law Society submitted that age should be a protected attribute. Caxton Legal Centre argued for sex, disability and age, the QHRC for impairment, and Scarlet Alliance, another sex worker representative organisation, for employment status. The department responded by saying that all of these will be considered in the context of the response to the QHRC report, Building Belonging. Nonetheless, while we are waiting for that response, by putting forward this bill, the government have reopened the issue. The LASC report number 49 on this bill recommended that the government consider some possible additional attributes, particularly age and impairment. However, my statement of reservation emphasises that this bill should go beyond this and implement in full the original report number 22 recommendations. The second issue identified is the definition of a public act. This is relevant as vilification is a public act, so how this is defined is important. In the law, it is defined as communication in public or conduct observable in public. The QHRC raised whether the definition of public act encompassed closed environments such as schools, workplaces and hospitals, and highlighted cases where closed environments were not considered communication to the public, although these areas could be considered areas of public life. The committee report on the bill recommended that the government consider amending the bill to include closed environments. Third, the bill introduces a new section of the Criminal Code which provides a framework for banning of prohibited symbols representative of ideologies of extreme prejudice, with a nasty swastika as an example. This is a beneficial change, although the way it is being undertaken has raised concerns, as it proposes that the symbols will be set out in regulations by the Minister, which means, in effect, that they will have no scrutiny nor debate by Parliament. This is acceptable for regulations in relation to minor matters such as timeframe, forms or administrative arrangements. However, in this case, the regulations go to the heart of the bill: what symbols are banned. As the Queensland Council of Civil Liberties said in their submission, this violates a fundamental principle that the key concepts creating criminal liability should not be made by regulation. The decision to criminalise conduct should be made by the Parliament to ensure democratic accountability. The fourth main amendment in the bill is an increase in the penalty for the offence of serious vilification from 6 months imprisonment to 3 years. One consequence of this is that the police will now be able to obtain personal details of otherwise anonymous vilification online. This will be of real benefit in combating online hate speech. As will all these legislative changes that impact Queenslanders, as well the police, judicial officers as examples, and it is important that the government provides sufficient funding for education and training to assist roll out the changes. Thank you to our Chair, the member for Toohey, my fellow members of the Legal Affairs and Safety Committee for their efforts, our extremely hard-working Secretariat and all Queenslanders who participated in this inquiry. We heard so many heartbreaking stories of what has been perpetrated to fellow Australians from hatred and fear. In addition, we have watched in horror as to what is currently happening overseas and grieve for all who have and may continue to lose loved ones, and we send our deepest sympathies. More than ever, it is so important to develop greater compassion and understanding for our differences, especially during our early formative years. This can be achieved via mandatory components in our curriculum on personal well-being, relationships and inclusivity in religious education. Our chamber should also lead the way by including other faiths in our mourning rituals. Inclusion must be more than a word in our policies and legislation. It must be an action we do every day in every way. And I believe our former Chair Duncan Pegg, or Peggy as we know him, and now up above, he would be looking down, and I'm sure he would agree, as he demonstrated every day this inclusion. This bill may not address everything that needs to be addressed, however, it is a start. Thank you.